Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and I want to talk about Critical Role, and I want to talk about the start of Critical Role, and you can't really discuss Critical Role without talking about Matthew Mercer, because he is, I think, the heart, mind, and the spirit of Critical Role. I think everybody else on Critical Role is like the feet. Like, he's the everything, except the feet. I think, it's astounding how much Matthew Mercer has done to create Critical Role, and truly astounding how little anyone else on that, like Sam Riegel, Taliesin Jaffe, Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey, Marisha Ray, all of them, and Sam Riegel, all of them combined haven't even done a tenth of what the work that Matthew Mercer's done to set up Critical Role. It is astounding to me. We're going to also talk about Felicia Day. Do you remember Felicia Day? She kind of dropped off the scene. She really doesn't do anything like today. I don't think she's really in any projects today. But she was a thing 10 years ago, right? 15 years ago. And she started Critical Role, in my humble opinion. It would not exist without her. And we're going to talk about Will Wheaton. Yes, Wesley Crusher from Star Trek Next Generation, right? And we're going to talk about the character sheet at ComicBook.com, an event that just happened, and an astounding statement from CharacterSheet.com. An astounding coverage of a story by CharacterSheet.com, the character sheet on ComicBook.com, the character sheet on ComicBook.com. They have their own channel. I watch 80-90% of everything they do. They are fantastic as far as coverage, right? And the link for what I'm talking about is below. So, for their coverage of this. All right, so what happened? So Will Wheaton went up on Twitter, and so there was a celebration of 10 years of Critical Role. Now, you're like, 10 years? It's only about 8 years old. That's right. It depends on how you count. It's okay. Math doesn't matter anymore. Patterns matter, right? So that's okay. 10, 8, however you want to count, whatever, right? So there was this celebration of 10 years of Critical Role. Now, I think that's 2 years early, but let's not bicker over tiny numbers, right? So they're celebrating 10 years, and so of course Matthew Mercer and Liam O'Brien and Laura Bailey and Ashley Johnson and Sam Riegel and Taliesin Jaffe, they all come out of the woodwork, right? And Travis Willingham, they all come out of the woodwork, and they're all like, "Oh, we did it! We stood up Critical Role, and it was great. We did all the work, and everything's on us," right? And so I'm summarizing, right? That's my opinion of what they said. And get this, Will Wheaton gets up on Twitter and he gets salty, and he's like, "What the hizzle heck? Y'all's wrong. Felicia Day stood you guys up, put you up under Geek and Sundry, paid all the development costs, right? And really, you guys would be nowhere without her, right? She stood you up, right? You guys were playing a little jank little game somewhere for somebody's birthday, and she's like, what if this was a global product, right?" And then Will immediately deleted the tweet because it was, and in my humble opinion, because it was too true, baby, right? And everything I just said, that's my, paraphrase of what was on CharacterSheet.com. But you can check it out for yourself. Link is below, okay? Very powerful, right? And here's the kicker. So what's my take on this? I don't care nothing about Felicia Day, right? I ain't getting into that, right? Actually, I am getting into that, right? So what's my takeaway here, right? There's another link below. The link for my entire playlist on Orion Okaba, right? I got 7 videos on Orion Okaba saying, hey, Matthew Mercer used Orion Okaba like a launching pad, right? Orion Okaba did the work, got in, and the first 27 episodes of Critical Role, and every single time anyone ever comes to Critical Role and says, oh, I want to watch from the beginning, they come in through the gate. That is Orion Okaba. He built Critical Role with Matthew Mercer, and he gets no credit. In fact, worse than getting no credit, he gets horrible shame. And at this point, sitting on a mountain of gold that has made Matthew Mercer a millionaire, has made every single one of his and has made every single one of his players millionaires, literally millionaires. Literally, he has put himself and everyone else in position using Dungeons and Dragons, using Felicia Day, and using Orion Okaba. Trust and believe, Matthew Mercer and every single one of his players, they don't act surprised if Jeff Bezos picks up the phone and calls. Billionaires are in their circle, right? They have a show on Amazon. Jeff Bezos can pick up a call, can pick up the phone and call Ashley Johnson direct, and she will not wonder why a billionaire is calling her, because of Dungeons and Dragons, Felicia Day, and Orion Okaba, right? And Matthew Mercer does not give credit. He doesn't say Dungeons and Dragons often. He hides it, right? Like doesn't, and runs off and does huge projects, not naming the foundation of his work. And the foundation of his work is Dungeons and Dragons, Felicia Day, and Orion Okaba. And he keeps Orion Okaba in a cage of shame that he built. And he could restore Orion Okaba right now and say, we're all millionaires, buddy. You were there. You were there at the start, and every time anybody starts Critical Role at which at this point literally is probably like 3 million people starts Critical Role at the start, right? They go through the gate of Orion Okaba. He did the work. He made it exciting. He made it epic, right? And the reality is they won't even let him out of his shame cage at this point. And the shame cage is huge because every time somebody starts Critical Role, they're like, oh, so there was a friend, ? That Matthew Mercer just burned for fuel. Like just, kicked him out and, literally used him as a launching pad, and today Orion Okaba, holds the burned, scorched, blast marks of Matthew Mercer using his excitement, using his very compelling play, and keeping him in a cage of shade when all it would take to bring Orion Okaba out today is just bring him back in and say, hey, you had problems in the beginning, but you're a friend and we show you support. Instead, Matthew Mercer says, friends get shanked, right? Virtually. And that's what they do. They virtually just put all the shame of because Sam Riegel has done everything, in my humble opinion, that every problem that people point at Orion Okaba, Sam Riegel has done times 3, right? Like, and he gets no payback. I really feel they have been outrageously unfair to Orion Okaba, and I believe that Will Wheaton is saying, oh, Will Wheaton's not talking about Orion Okaba. He's just saying, oh, trust and believe. Matthew Mercer ain't telling you the truth about the start of Critical Role. He ain't telling you the foundation blocks that everything he built rests on. And those foundation blocks are 4. Dungeons & Dragons, Felicia Day, himself, and Orion Okaba, right? And he's lying about all but one, right? And I think that's the reality of it. Every single word of that is my humble opinion, right? And the reality, let me correct my speech there. I don't think they virtually shank him. I really think because he's still living, right? Like, so culturally he's still living, right? But he is absolutely in a cage, in a shame cage created by Mercer himself. And Mercer every day has the ability to free him from it, and he cruelly chooses not to. And check out my playlist on Orion Okaba. And I'm telling you, I think this Will Wheaton event is proof of what I'm saying, that you're not hearing the truth about Critical Role start. And also, sitting on a mountain of gold, Matthew Mercer owes Orion Okaba a shot, and they should 100% acknowledge the foundational work that Felicia Day did, which they are not doing. They owe everything to Dungeons & Dragons, Felicia Day's Geek and Sundry, Felicia Day and Geek and Sundry, Felicia Day, Geek and Sundry, and to Orion Okaba. He did major work, and Matthew Mercer. Matthew Mercer is only 25% of what built Critical Role. And by the way, everybody else that serves on Critical Role, 0%, man. They lit like Mercer truly is the Jordan of Critical Role. He has to carry every single one of them on his back. They actively do things that I feel destroy the IP. It's astounding. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.